space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and dog reaction shot. That's it. That's the tweet. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. How you feeling?
Good. A little congested. We were having some leftover whatevers, but basically back to normal. Having a great time.
Good. That's great to hear, and it's great to have you back. It's good to be back. Here on our show, Discoverage, I wanted to mention real quick that we usually talk about the news of Star Trek at this point in the show. And the big news is that Paramount Plus is now finally available to viewers in the United Kingdom, available yesterday. So they got to see, I believe, the first 3 episodes. And I don't know if you knew this, but for about an hour, I think, around midnight, the most recent episode was available. So
nice.
UK fans, if you're watching this because you got to see the episode early, welcome to the show.
We're happy to have you.
It's funny that like more things don't go wrong with like these big rollouts, you know. I mean, they happen sometimes.
I know, right?
I know you.
I think about that all the time.
Way back in the beginning of our Discoverage days, there would be fluctuations, and sometimes they wouldn't stream right, or they'd come out early or something. But generally, generally it runs pretty well for what it is. When you were in the UK, did you find it was tough to? Did you have to do like a VPN and do all that?
Magic? Yeah. I mean, in theory, when I was in the UK, did I have to use a VPN? Yes.
I think you're probably okay.
If I were in the UK, CBS, if you're listening.
Yeah, like a bunch of like beefeaters aren't going to bust in and haul you to the tower or something like that.
You never know. I
suppose they have a lot of power. Yeah. So that's good news. Interesting news out of the streaming world and the world of Paramount. Bob Bakish, the CEO of Paramount, was interviewed the other day about the rollout of Paramount Plus in the UK, and he made comments about the idea that they wouldn't be censoring any content or removing any content that was historic in nature and might be offensive or, what in his words, made in a different time and reflecting different sensibilities. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
What are we referring
Birth
to,
of a Nation,
Bob?
available on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
What are we... That's sus.
It is sus, and I'll tell you why it's sus. Because I know it doesn't go both ways. Because I bet that if I don't know if the United Arab Emirates has Paramount Plus, but I bet there's some stuff that's not available on there. You know what I mean? And when he went on to say, I don't believe in censoring art that was made historically. That's probably a mistake. It's all on demand. You don't have to watch anything you don't want to. And I'm like, at this point, when you are, especially during Pride Month, the streaming service...
That's homophobic, Bob.
Yeah, well, the streaming service that has a huge rainbow on your thing, and you've got super gay Star Trek shows on, and your biggest competitor is Netflix, the channel that's like, we don't really care what anybody thinks. We're going to make all the deals and do whatever we want because you can just watch whatever you want. And then to him to say something like this, it sounds not great. Now, he could have just been not delivering his idea well, and his idea is we don't want to...
With peace and love, how old is Bob?
He's a CEO of an American media corporation. How old do you think he is?
Because I feel like he's either 25 or 85.
Over under. Oh no, Bob over under on the male pattern baldness. What do you think? I'm gonna say
over.
I'm gonna say yes. Picture. Yeah, it's getting there.
68. I'm gonna say
58.
58? No way.
But that's old enough. Old enough to be.
But an old 58.
Yeah. Are you looking at a picture?
I picture his energy. No, I'm not, but I'm picturing what I think based on what you told me he said, and I feel like he's an old, like my grandmother, she is a young 84.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I hope
Bob,
I don't look like
I think that he might be an old 58.
This is a City Miles 58 for sure. Yeah. I hope I don't look like that then. But anyway, talking about something completely different, no connection to older men. Nice. How is your, now it's going to be terrible. Did your mom and dad get moved and everything okay?
Oh my gosh. Almost.
Almost. Okay.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Almost. They're making the midlife move into the condo.
Yeah. That's a good move.
And they are almost there. They don't have to be out of the house officially until the 6th. But I did go there and get my personal last few boxes yesterday.
Mm-hmm. That's tough. I had to do that myself. I remember my parents did that move later, I think, than most. But having to go get all your stuff, and they're like, "There's all your stuff." I'm like, "Oh, all the things from your child, all the remembrances you have of me."
Like,
okay, I guess I'll just take these.
Garbage.
Yeah, all this trash,
all this crap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a rough thing.
It's not the house that I grew up in, so it's okay. It feels more like a house.
Okay, so less.
I did go pick up all my garbage though.
Got all your trash.
Yeah, I got all my trash.
Put that in storage until I don't know, your kids have to take it or something.
I know, right? I was glad. I live in a house now with a couple of roommates, so I am glad because like our weird storage rooms in the basement of this house just full of my boxes.
Sure. Yeah. Well, speaking of fathers and daughters, this is the perfect episode to talk about that. We've just seen the 8th episode of the Star Trek series Strange New Worlds. It's an episode entitled The Elysian Kingdom, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning. We're setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners, so be warned. We're glad you've decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for The Elysian Kingdom is the USS Enterprise becomes stuck in a nebula that is home to an alien consciousness that traps the crew in a fairy tale. The episode was written by Akela Cooper and Onitra Johnson and directed by Amanda Rowe. The stardate for the episode is 2341.6, and let's see. No real facts I can think of in the episode, but it does open with a doctor's log. So obviously now, I mean, we pinned it down a long time ago, but like this is a concerted effort by the show to go, let's go around the sitting circle here. Everybody gets a chance, as we do a focus on everybody. I thought that was...
you get a log and you get a log.
Everybody gets a log. Yeah, exactly. What did you think about the episode? What did you think about this episode?
I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was maybe a little long for what they were doing. Like I was waiting for like the punch, which I guess came in the form of, the daughter and the, releasing of the, what is it? Rakia.
Yeah.
I do have a new like bit that we can do on the show. We don't have to do it every time, but the bit is called, the bit is Enough Spock or Not Enough Spock. And I'm going to go ahead and say Not Enough Spock.
Not enough. Especially when it's Sexy Wizard Spock.
When I tell you that I saw on like Star Trek fan Twitter a picture of Ethan Beck with the long hair, and I was like, that's Photoshop for sure. It's Photoshop for sure. And then I watched the teaser trailer, and I was like, it was real. It was real.
Yeah. That was one of the highlights. I wanted to mention really quick that it totally passed me by. I guess I wasn't watching it in HD, but The Kingdom of Elysian, the book, is written by Benny Russell, who is the I'm still going, who is the sci-fi writer, the black sci-fi writer from the 1960s that Benjamin Sisko goes into.
Oh my gosh.
So this establishes, for good or bad,
What?
and we're going to talk about
That
good or
is
bad,
crazy.
that he was real. So there you go. I hated this episode. I hated
Really?
it.
It did
Oh my God. Like, and after last week,
it went on.
Yeah, and after last week, like just like bam, brick wall in the middle of the interstate. And I was thinking about it. I mean, you know, I've got a lot of thoughts, and you're going to hear them right now.
You do?
People have been talking a lot recently, especially after the last kind of couple episodes, which have taken some chances and have been sort of non-traditional, that like, you know how it is, like you're just not going to have like the, hey, they go to a casino episodes anymore because, you know, that's just not how it works anymore. And I'm like, yeah, have you seen this episode? Like, totally, you can have those episodes, but I question the worth of those episodes. You know, you don't get the budget saving episode. Although I think this definitely was a budget saving episode because the costumes are great, but just putting some stuff from Gerton's like on the pre-existing sets, that's a bottle episode, right? Like this, so they saved a ton of money, and that's fine. But like, you don't get the money saving episodes, and you don't get the back 9 episodes. Where you're going to take the scripts that's like, we're not sure, this needs more time, or well, who cares, we'll just put an episode out. And you can have really good episodes like The Inner Light, or you can have an episode like the one where Diamond Bach convinces, you know, Picard he's got a fake son, or whatever that one was called. So like when you've got 10 episodes, this like was on the board. Like they were going to do this pretty much from the start, right? Unless there's more of a graduated like approval process for scripts. So they always knew they wanted to do this. And I wanted to point out, I think that it's very interesting that this episode, one of the writers was Akilah Cooper, who wrote the movie, or co-wrote the movie, Malignant.
Interesting.
Yes. Which itself is a very fairy tale-esque story. And I think a lot of people would agree is not really great written. We don't really know if it's like intentionally bad or if it's so bad it's good. But I think this proves... I don't think Malignant was very good. And I'm not sure that Akilah Cooper understands fairy tales and like why we tell fairy tales and like how they're significant. You know what I mean? Like their fairy tale trappings were very charming, but they fall completely flat, I think, in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely like they didn't go for the full like fairy tale. Like we didn't learn like a lesson. You know?
Well, I guess the lesson is just, you know, let your kid choose to go off on her own when she's 8.
I feel a little bit. I was going to say earlier when you were making the joke
and
about my dad,
essentially die.
I was like, if Scott sent me into the Nether like that, I don't know how I think I might have some. I would come back.
I don't know, Daddy. This seems kind of shady. He's like, no, you're fine.
Because he was kind of. I understand he was frustrated. We saw him being frustrated with he couldn't quite get the cure, but it's like. Leave her in the pattern buffer for like one more year. Dude.
I can't believe that this is the payoff to this.
I was surprised because I thought initially I was like, if the alien, that is the part that I was disappointed by because I didn't feel like it was a good end to her story.
No.
Because it was like, if we're going to have her be cured by this alien, then why has he been working on the cure? Why did the last one of those other aliens say like, oh my God, we could fix this, no problem.
Yeah.
So I did think that was that. I didn't think it was a super satisfying end to her story.
And remember how wedged in her story felt when we learned
they shoehorned it in at the end of the episode,
And it makes me think, like, was this all, you know, writing backwards? Like, did they get Akilah Cooper? They're like, we got a lady that's written a bunch of movies, let's get her in here. And she had an idea for this, and they're like, we have this fairy tale idea, it needs a child character. And so they sort of like back-formed, you know, the daughter's origin into an earlier episode. I don't know, but I'm sure that, you know, we'll bring that character back. I'm sure she'll come back in the future, but it's just such a weird and sort of lame payoff to what they were sort of setting up. For 2 seconds, for 2 seconds, I imagined a much better universe where at the very beginning, she's like, oh, can I have some more chocolate milk? Can you read the book, please? And I was like, is she a scammer? Is she orphaning him? What if she's like an alien, like an adult alien, but she's, you know, she wants the love and affection. There's a million TNG episodes like that.
Yeah.
So actually, this reminded me of a bunch of TNG episodes. Remember how like all the TNG episodes with
very
kids are
TNG.
bad, so we don't like them? Let's do one for this. And so yeah, it reminded me of Imaginary Friend, where Clara has an alien that comes aboard, and she's like, messing with people, and yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I interrupted you, but I would have. There are some changes that I think could have been made that would have made it like better. Like number one, it's like maybe the thing takes her, and then he's grieving that
and he's
like actually gone.
I gotta get her back.
And then it's not till the end later in the season. Maybe she comes back to save them a different time. Like she comes back in like hour 11 in the finale or the finale part 1.
Yeah.
And she's like, Dad, you did exactly the right thing. I'm like I'm no longer a human. I'm something like more.
Isn't that great?
And I've had a great time.
I'm not human, Dad.
And
it's
I'm
not
here
a
to
phase.
save your ship.
Yeah.
And I'm here to save the ship. Like,
or
that would have been great.
Let me simplify that. What if she's taken at the beginning of the episode and he's trying to get her back? So there are some stakes, period.
The entire fairy tale.
And then he gets her, but he has to learn to let her
Yes.
go, which is a metaphor for letting your
Which
child
is
die, but it's sci-fi, so she can,
fairy
level up to
tale.
another thing. Yeah, that's just
Learned a
basic
lesson.
stuff. Come on.
It's just basic stuff.
Watch Malignant.
Or what else I would have liked is that like, and they've done Robin Hood or whatever in TNG, and so I know it's hard, but it's like I think it would have been a little more exciting maybe if it had been like a fairy tale that we know the characters of. It's like a common thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then we could have been like waiting for the character, like we would have known the story a little bit ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're like waiting for like the Huntress, or we're waiting for Queen Nev?
Yeah.
Like we're waiting, like if they had done like a Merlin thing, but I feel like that's been done.
Yeah.
So I totally see why they didn't do it, because it would have just felt like they were doing something over again.
That's usually what you do when you have characters that are archetypes, like fairy tale characters, right? And then our actors or our characters on the show become those characters, and there's a disconnect between them and those characters, and so we mine comedy or drama out of that. But that's not what they did. Everybody wanted to have fun and play a goofy character, and so taking our characters and putting them in a new element, but when they're not themselves, they're just part of that thing. What's the point? Like it's not a holodeck episode or a fantasy episode where everybody in the holodeck is just like, even in the Barclay episodes, like people get to come in and go, oh, you're making me act like that in this holodeck. I'm upset about that. There's no dramatic tension in what they do. And so it's just, I mean, it's fun to watch Anson Mount pull faces. Like I like doing that.
With the middle part.
Yeah. But otherwise,
very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, like, could there have been a worse character to make the center of this? I like Dr. Mabenka, but the guy's like, he's a cool customer. He doesn't like react a lot to stuff.
I was going to say
so
he's
people
very
keep
like
coming in and doing stuff, and he's like,
stride.
Oh,
he takes things in stride, and so does Hemmer.
Yeah, Hemmer, the exact same guy. Yeah, exactly. So
can I tell you something? My roommate walked into my room today, and I was watching this episode on my computer, and she walked in.
Is that what you think?
On the screen.
Yeah.
And she said, "That's the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't even look at him. I have to close my eyes. I have to look away." And I was like, "What? He's an alien. Why would you say that about Hemmer?"
He just needs to exfoliate. Look.
Why'd you go for blood like that?
Yeah.
She doesn't know nothing about Star Trek. She said he's ugly. You don't know what hot Andorians are like.
You don't know. You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know anything.
He doesn't care what he looks like.
He's blind.
Yeah. So just confusing. And I think that it is, I don't know. I mean, like, you write a show. Yeah, give me a job. Sure, let's do it. But,
I would like to see.
But I've watched.
I wish that we had 26 episodes a season, so we could go back to the any Joe off the street is pitching these episodes.
Yeah,
it wasn't quite any Joe off the street, but you get what I mean.
I've watched 850 episodes of Star Trek, so it's like I kind of know. I think how a Star Trek what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And another example is like if you remember the DS9 episode, it's like the third or fourth episode period of DS9 where Cisco's building this clock, and Kira wants to like arrest everybody, and because they're infected by this, like these mind brains that are coming
Dude,
in
I
from
love
space.
Star Trek so much.
And it's like, and
You're
that's
like, he's building the clock, and Kira wants to arrest everyone
Yeah.
because.
and that episode, like it also doesn't work. But the reason it doesn't work is because we don't know those characters well enough to understand how they're acting different. You know what I mean? They all act kind of like themselves, but like in a more intense kind of way.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense than just having all the characters just do whatever. I just felt like in the business we call it was real sweaty. I just felt like it was really sweaty. And if you had like a bunch of great riffs on fairy tale tropes, or if like just a bunch of killer one-liners, like I think that you could have like packed it full of that. But everybody's just sort of like, I've got a dog. That's insane. What is this dog?
Yeah, like there were a couple of good. Like I loved the princess's entrance. That was very funny, and realizing that it was
the fact that they had like the smoke machines and stuff
like
going.
That
like, why
was
is there
really
smoke
funny.
in here? Yeah,
that was really good.
That was cute.
Like I unironically really liked that. Like I thought that was a really good bit. Or I loved like when Mabenga gets to the bridge and Captain Pike goes, "Move!" to the people who are between him. That was so funny. And Anson Mount's hair is so funny because his hair always looks so good.
Yeah.
And so to have it with the middle part and the little curl was like hysterical. Like there was a lot about it that was really good, but I think it was too long. And I like agree with you that like I felt like a fairy tale episode, I want there to be a moral. And if the moral was like, let the alien take your daughter's consciousness, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah. Like I was kind of like, where's Child Protective Services? Like what happens when he's like, oh, my daughter doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
I let the aliens take her.
Right. Like does she have a
maybe is a cheap shot at the episode. Death certificate. I feel like that's a cheap shot, but like, I'm just saying what I feel.
They say when you seek revenge, when you go out to seek revenge, first dig 2 graves, right? And when this will make sense.
Is it one for yourself and one for the person that
I guess
revenge on?
I've never really understood. Yeah, but I think that's what it means.
And there's only one set of footprints in the sand.
Because don't confuse this. And when you set out to write a story about a story, you got to write 2 stories. Like you have to write. No, I'm serious. Like you brought this up before. Like if the fairy tale had a story, then we could be,
like we're not playing.
It would be a foil for what our characters were doing. Yeah, exactly. Instead, they were just like kind of funny
a foil
archetypes. It was almost like we just raided the costume department, and it's like great costumes, but
it's like this is great. Yeah, we look like the cast of Rain, but now like something more.
Yeah, right. If Kim K dressed up as Elsa for Halloween, that would be
instead
Uhura's
of Marilyn.
Outfit. Yeah, right. Instead of Marilyn and broke her dress. Yeah. I was really disappointed too because we'd seen the art, we saw the costume in Chicago, and I was ready. I was ready for Ortegas's big moment. And
I was shook when we were in Chicago and we saw this. I was like, "What are we doing?"
The actress was great, but like. The sword fight was like badly directed. I don't mean the choreography; they clearly worked hard on it, but it's just like it's just not shot really well, and it just kind of goes by really fast. And so, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something this thing did right, so I can be nice.
Well, it was fun for at least for me. It was fun to watch.
Not
like
fun.
I agree with like everything that you've said, and I think that there's lots of like critiques. And even as I was watching it, I was like, "This is kind of going on. This is long," but it was still really, really fun. And like all of the actors did a really good job, and like you said, the costume department did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And there were lots of bits that were funny. She comes in with the fog, and her skirt is huge. She's going to her. It looks like a quinceañera dress. Like it's just this huge ball gown that's hilarious, and especially on that actress. Like when she's so stoic and angry, like so many of the episodes.
Right.
Like it was really fun. Not enough Spock.
Yeah, I don't know why you. I guess Spock has had a couple big episodes recently.
I know he really has. He really has.
Yeah, it's disappointing. I guess I liked that. Well, everybody should be happy now because we see Hammer's antenna move. So people are like,
great.
Are they going to move? It's like, yeah, when he gets possessed by
you moved the antenna.
Space brain. They did another thing too where, and I guess Star Trek has always done this, but again, you can't really fake the funk. Like if you get it right, if you're doing it right, it works. If you're not, it doesn't work. And their popular science article for this week was Boltzmann brains, which is not what happens in the episode. That's not really what like a Boltzmann brain is. It's like a thought experiment. It's not something that we expect to like find a brain in space. It'd be like if they did a Captain, we have to find out if this cat in this box is alive or dead. We don't know. Like it's Schrodinger's cat is just like a thought experiment.
Do like I wanted him to do like a folie à deux bit. You know, what folie à deux is?
I do know a folie à deux because of the X-Files.
I would like that because the X-Files.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be fun. Obviously, it didn't really work. I mean, there were two of them, so it could have worked.
Yeah.
Him and a hammer.
And having it be, we talked about having it be the girl is doing the whole thing. The daughter is. That would have been
crazy.
Would that have?
He's like, sorry, Dad, I was playing you in the pattern buffer the whole time.
Would that have like set the rules, or would that have like, because she doesn't really know the crew, right? Or does she? So like, what if they were playing exaggerated versions of themselves because of the larger than life?
Only knows.
That's how she sees them. Yeah. So Pike's hair is literally a foot tall.
Oh my God. When I think about Dave Mack, that's what it's still like. It's still like I'm 7 and my dad's like, oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. Pike's hair is like literally a foot tall, and like he's just like he's just like
how fun,
like giving looks to everybody, and like
oh my God,
and La'an is just like eating like roofing nails, and like everybody is like, and that way it like emphasizes kind of what we know. Juniors. It sends up these characters that we still are new.
That would have been funny.
Well, gosh darn it, they didn't call me.
Why don't they call us?
I know. All around the world, people are probably fixing this episode tonight. What'd you think about letting a eight-year-old? I think she's 8. Letting an 8-year-old decide her ultimate fate to become a star child.
Questionable, stressful.
Yeah. There's times that the metaphor.
It worked out well, but I was like, this alien could be lying.
Yeah, you don't really know. Yeah. You gotta watch them aliens. There's sometimes that like. Star Trek does a really good job of presenting like sci-fi interpretations of real-world metaphors, and there are other times that they do not apply. And I'm going to bring back my thing from earlier in the season where I'm like, man, Strange New Worlds, you keep presenting these like allegorical real-world situations, and you keep taking like the weird side of the argument. And so like, you're going to let an 8-year-old decide what she's going to be for the rest of her life? Oh, sorry,
give your kid to the alien.
Yeah, so
I thought it was near miss. Like I thought it was interesting. Well, it's like she's sick. She's in the, if Child Protective Services was going to come for her, they would have come for her when somebody realized that she was being stuck in the pattern buffer.
I know. Wait till we find out that he like kidnapped her. Like, where's his wife?
It's not actually his daughter.
Yeah. Oh my god! Oh my god! Yeah. Why couldn't it be the Traveler? Get the Traveler. He's like, let me come with me.
Episodes like these, I just feel like I know in my brain and in my heart, I know that Q is not going to show up.
Yeah. Well, you don't know.
But I'm just waiting. But I feel like I do know.
I
feel like I know that he's not going to be there, but I'm still waiting.
Well, plus he exited the stage in such a grand fashion.
Exactly.
I doubt he'll come back that way. He'll be on lower decks for sure. But like it's too late to put him into TNG or not TNG, TOS. But you could put him into SNW. We could do that. So don't write it off just yet. They say in the business of acting, you never work with kids or animals. And I think that Star Trek.
And I think that John Delancey is an animal.
With a childlike sense of wonder. Anything else to say about this episode? I'm trying to stretch it out. This is going to be a no for me, dog.
I feel like we had a good back and forth. Per usual, you're like, no, bad. And I was like, this part was good. And you were like, you know what? Yeah. The fog, that was funny. We had a good back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, what if you, Star Trek doesn't really do, it's its own thing. So it doesn't really do parody or pastiche much either. Outside of like maybe specific characters represent an idea. Doing Dixon Hill is specifically like a 40s noir send up. But like, so like, what if they were clearly doing like Lord of the Rings, but like everything but saying it because they copyright. And so
they wouldn't, because Amazon would. It's too close.
Right, but I mean, you can take
to September.
Yeah, but you can take the tropes. You have like
yeah.
Because they had like I'm the elvish archer type character, and like, what if they did something kind of like that? This necklace of power.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a 3-camera sitcom setup.
Oh, okay. So like we open on Star Trek and it's like, bow, 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 bow.
Yes.
And like Spock comes in like through the doors, like.
Yeah, and it's like
Captain.
wah wah.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want. I want the bridge to be, some kind of like a Friends living room, or dare I say a Seinfeld apartment.
Yeah,
that would be funny.
And
it hasn't been done before.
No, it
correct?
hasn't.
So anyone, Kirsten, you go ahead and call me. She listens.
Yeah, she'll get that going. I'm on record as saying that Star Trek should probably not try to do comedy any more than it usually does, because it never turns out very well. But I want to see this really bad.
What if they did?
Well, they did. Remember the Tribbles short Trek? They went hard comedy on that.
Yeah, but what if they did the full?
It was horrifying.
Because I feel like Star Trek has done these full fairy tale bits. But what if they went all in? Like, what if they filmed in front of a live studio audience? But how crazy would that be if it's like what if it was like, who would be funny to be the one that's awake while everybody else is in a sitcom? Like, I don't know if Spock would even be the funniest one to be awake, like Mbenga was in this episode.
Spock Spock is the ultimate straight man, so he has to be part of whatever comedy you're doing.
You're right.
So we can't lose him. Maybe Chapel could be, she's becomes Chapel in the City or something like that, and so she's gonna.
That would be funny. Her little like New York
little
intro.
doodles.
She's like hailing a cab in heels.
Right. Yeah. Water splashes her. Yeah. Right. Gosh, do you think that Star Trek does occasionally dip into fairy tales, mythic sort of mythopoeia? Do you think it works when it does?
Yes.
Example. That's my way of saying prove it.
I am not a merry man.
Like Cupid?
Yeah.
What about all the Neelix, Samantha Wildman,
no comment.
or Naomi Wildman flotter stories?
No comment.
I kind of wish, here's something else. So I wish they would do it more, because you'd have to imagine, as this is the 851st episode of Star Trek, by the way. And as we plow our way towards 1000, the world gets bigger and bigger. And so if you asked, Jim Kirk, remember Court Marshall and Jim Kirk, his friend gets killed, and his clearly adult daughter, who is in a schoolgirl dress, is like, "You killed my daddy." What do you think? What kind of books do you think she reads? I bet she reads calculus textbooks and not like fairy tale books, right? Because it's Gene Roddenberry's future and everybody's really smart. I think we have gotten rid of that as we've gone on, and people are just more normal in the future. So they must read fairy tales.
Are you saying that normal people don't watch Lord of the Rings?
No, Tolkien is probably huge still in the 24th century.
Well, that's what I think. I think that it's like, in a lot of ways, Star Trek sometimes, this is like maybe an annoying thing to say.
Oh, I'll bring it up.
Like, it's set in the future, but it feels sometimes very, like, almost more like of something that's very old, like the classics almost.
Yeah.
It's like, I expect someone to be reading, like, the Odyssey. I expect them to be reading things like,
and they call each other
like
Mr.
older
all the time, and Mr. Darcy, Mr. Spock.
Yeah, and
yes.
they have and if they leave their quarters without a hat on, it's a headline in the news.
Right? Yeah.
Man
Where are your
leaves
gloves,
house with
Mr.
no hat
Scott?
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like that. And
but don't you feel like
these...
that's changed now? Like Tilly's eating burritos and salsa, and like Well,
I think burritos have been around for a long time.
Well, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, a character like Tom Paris is the last character that you could fetishize like our modern culture with. Like, he liked cartoons and beer and popcorn and stuff like that. But now if Nurse Chapel is just like, I'm kicking off Michelob, and some popcorn, you'd be like, oh yeah, I can see that. And so like the reason that like, I don't know, I hate that, or at least I used to. I'm now ready to embrace that, but they need to go all the way. And I think the more human you make the characters, I think that you can mine better drama that way. And so like, I want to know what kind of fairy tales outside of a fake fairy tale they made up for this episode, people read in the future.
Yeah, I would like to see. I know they're watching movies.
Or like the 3D movies, like in Calypso.
Yeah. Like I know that they're watching TV, and I just want to know what they're watching.
I wouldn't, yeah. Or do they have the internet? Are they streaming?
Can the internet reach into deep space?
No, the subspace network,
Subspace network.
Plus, they have like
me today, and he said CenturyLink is out. It's like the 19th century out here.
The 19th century
link. Yeah.
I mean, the ship is connected to the subspace, Starfleet network, but it also is like a flying server. Like it is the Netflix servers. Like they've.
But when they were like,
because they can always call up whatever they want.
48 hours for the message to get to Starfleet Academy on the.
But they're making that message. They're sending that out. So like in their data banks, they've got like all the episodes of The Wire or whatever.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
How funny would that be though if it's like cut to chapel and she's watching Seinfeld in her quarters?
How funny it would be if they cut to The Wire. They're watching The Wire in their quarters. How'd it get so bad?
They're watching Succession.
Succession, yeah, right. Oh, I remember when we killed all these people. That's right. Yeah. All right, we're running on fumes, I think. Unless you've got something else to say.
I thought we were doing some good bits.
Yeah.
They don't have to go on for another 30 minutes, but I think they were. I think they were good bits.
I've heard a lot of, like I said before, I've heard a lot of conversations about people talking about how there are less episodes than ever, and I think it's interesting that this show, which has a very traditional format, what we're used to historically with Star Trek. Those conversations have come out. When you're watching Discovery and week to week, it's kind of building and they're heading somewhere. Maybe you don't think about it, but with these standalone episodes, people are really thinking about that phenomenon that we have less episodes now. And I think that we have answered a couple questions here tonight in terms of where things fall in the batting order, and we made it to like batter number 8. And it's like, that guy he's kind of low. He's got a low percentage there. And so this was kind of it was a chance that they took. It was a swing to continue the metaphor, and I'm glad they did it, but I'm hoping that they saved the really good episode for the penultimate episode and a good episode for the ultimate episode.
I think they're making a point of doing these one-off episodes because it's this homage to TOS.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. I love it. Like, I'm really grateful for it. But I also think that you are right that it like this was a little bit of a fumble. Yeah. Because like we didn't really learn what happened besides like we sent Ricky off,
Yeah. Which again is just weird. It's just weird.
Very interesting.
What if the episode, still fixing it, what if the episode, instead of him reading to her for the millionth time, is like we start in medias res. She's on the table. He's like, he's clear. He's hitting her. The process isn't working. And so.
Oh, and the alien catches her consciousness.
That, yeah. But also it creates in him like the thing, the desperation of like, because at this point he's just been able to keep her in there forever. Like, why would he go? No, don't go. We'll just write down the coordinates. Tell the brain we'll be back.
That's a good idea. Why aren't they calling us?
Create the urgency.
Why aren't they calling us?
Well, watch
They
Malignant.
need to be listening to our show.
Watch Malignant. It'll all make sense. So I think that's it for our show this week, though. But thanks for joining us, listeners. And if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook or on Twitter at EISTPOD. And to get notified, follow us to get notified when new episodes of both this show, Discoverage, and Enterprising Individuals come out. You can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage, and you can email us with thoughts and questions at eistpod@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed. Give us a rating and a review. It really does help us out. And if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return next week on June 23rd for the 9th episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds' first season. Again, I don't really know anything about it, but hopefully it'll be a good one, and hopefully Maybe UK viewers will get to see it early again. We'll be here next Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 8 p.m. Central, so join us then, and you can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPOD to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. In the meantime, check out our main show feed and our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every week on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail the films from the Star Trek franchise. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. Our latest episode just dropped yesterday, and on it I'm joined by New York Times and USA Today bestselling author Catherine M. Valenti to talk about Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. The last TOS feature film, political intrigue, murder, a prison break, knee balls, Klingons quoting Shakespeare. This movie has everything. and we talk all about it. You can hear that episode at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and remind people where they can find you online.
I'll just do my personals. I'm at Gondor Gold on Twitter. You can find me there. Okay, I have another podcast. It's called Generations Geek. You might like it. And it's wherever you listen to podcasts. And we have an episode on everything under the sun. Yeah,
absolutely. Excuse me, I've been thinking about rewatching The Lord of the Rings and also rewatching the Sherlock Holmes. And I was going to dip back in and listen to your guys' shows about those subjects for that reason.
Some episodes.
So yeah, they've covered a lot of things, and so it's like a toy box of sci-fi geek stuff. Just pull it right out.
That's good. I'm going to put that in our script.
I feel like I should get a percentage, but we'll work it out offline. And you can find me at KA1IBAN on Twitter, and you can find all the shows on our network, Just Enough Trope, at Just Enough Trope on Twitter. And that is it for us. Thanks for listening, and we will see you soon. Signing off, live long and prosper.